Hey everyone, this is Alex, aka DJ Hondro from the PREGAME podcast. We want to first thank everyone for listening and tell you that we got a special treat before we get started with our episode this week. This is a brand new unreleased remix from our guest to everyone's favorite song right now. Please enjoy the Butler remix of Olivia Rodrigo's Driver's License.
And I know we weren't perfect, but I've never felt this way for no one. Oh, and I just can't imagine how you could be so okay now that I'm gone. I guess you didn't mean what you wrote in that song about me. You said forever, now I'm driving on past your street. I still see your face in the white cars, front yards. Can't drive past the places we used to go to, 'cause you know I still love you, babe. Sidewalks we cross, I still hear your voice in the traffic. We're laughing over all the noise. God, I'm so filled with wisdom. You know I still love you, babe.
I like things at like Sam's Club and shit. Like, oh, which one's gonna do better, my gin or your coffee? And they have these like weird commercials.
And always playing on the fact that he's like 30 feet tall, The Rock is, and then Kevin Hart
Yeah,
looks like
yeah,
he's
yeah,
like
yeah.
5 feet compared to him. So, hey everyone, welcome to the PREGAME podcast, the number one podcast in Gainesville. Well, I guess, I don't know, maybe nationwide. We'll see. We'll see where we end up taking. Giving you nightlife stories, our favorite DJ friends and nightlife personnel, music interviews, and all the above, right? So we got an awesome guest on the show today. I'm super excited to introduce my man, Cade Siebecker, who you know as the resident DJ for Top Tier. It's a couple of the biggest parties in Gainesville, including Techno Tuesday and Simon Saturdays. You've probably seen him at. Just released an EP a couple months ago. Now working on some remixes, dropping on the SoundCloud. So
Absolutely.
lots of awesome things that you have coming up.
Definitely.
Cade, super excited to have you on the show today, man.
What's going on?
Yeah, man. We're going to dig into a couple things, but let's, of course, rewind. I actually forgot to introduce myself, right? That's how excited I am to have you on the show, man. I was like, we don't even need to know who I am. What's up, guys? My name is Alex Montero, DJ Hondro. You guys know me as In the Club. And, of course,
There
I'm
it
only
is.
one.
I was
There it
waiting,
is.
dude. I was
There it
waiting
is.
for it.
There
I was
it
so
is.
excited. I was gonna adjust it, and I was like, nah, let me wait until I actually see it in
Yeah.
person. There we go. That's a little better. Hey, it's Jesse, DJ Dopio, also part of the GNV crew.
Yeah, we already introduced, of course, our man, Cade Siebecker, DJ Butler. Yeah, Cade, so super excited to have you on the show today, man.
Appreciate it.
I know initially, like, when we kind of came up with the idea for the podcast, and we were really looking to have a way for, like, new DJs to get advice and new education, and, of course, talking from people who are actually in the clubs doing it every sort of week, and definitely you're one of those people. So I know, you know, not only are you passionate about DJing, but also, like, giving that gift forward and helping other
Totally,
DJs and all that,
definitely.
man. So definitely excited to have you on the show. So we dug into already, you know, Techno Tuesday, we said Simon Saturday, all those things, but why don't we back it up a little bit?
Okay.
And before we even get into where you are now, like, tell us a little bit about how you got into DJing, maybe
Yeah,
even how you
definitely.
got into music initially.
So, one thing about me is I've always been super involved in music. Like, music has just always been my life. I've always been picking and choosing new trends. I've always had a good ear for, like, picking what's going to be the next big thing or, like, who the next big artist is. I grew up my entire life in baseball, and that was just, like, from as early as I can even think of, that was just my entire life. And so I didn't really have that opportunity to, like, pursue music until after I was done playing baseball. So my freshman year of college, I played baseball, actually. Played baseball at Wofford College in South Carolina. And then after one semester of that, I was like, you know what? I think it's time to be a Florida Gator.
Yeah, for sure.
So transferred to UF.
That's a big jump from Wofford, which I've never even heard of that.
Spartanburg,
school. Yeah.
South Carolina. So
To a school like
definitely,
UF.
definitely a huge jump. And and for me especially, like wanting to DJ, like, you got to find a big market or find
for
like
sure.
a market that's at least like manageable. And so for me, like, being from Orlando, UF was just the perfect option because, you know, you have like the huge nightlife, you have the
Yeah,
huge
for sure.
student body, but even though it's so huge, it's not like it doesn't feel overbearing. It's
Yeah.
very like we have a very tight knit kind of group of DJs,
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
it's you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. So baseball was first for you, and then, you know, you kind of got
Absolutely.
like, when did you start your DJ career, would you say?
When
You've
did I
been in
start my
music
DJ
for a
career?
while. Like,
Yeah.
when did your DJ career
So
actually start?
DJing really didn't happen for me until kind of like the summer after high school.
Sure.
I started like playing around with it, and then like obviously, you know, get the board, and then you get Ableton, and then
Yeah.
that kind of all starts to like spiral. But for me especially, I don't think DJing became serious for me
Mm-hmm.
until I kind of transferred here and realized, wow, like I could make a career out of this.
Yeah,
And
for
then
sure.
even at that time, so this was what I think probably like going into fall 18. There weren't that many people playing in Gainesville. I mean, you know, there's probably, I mean, okay, you
Certainly a lot less
yeah,
than there is
definitely
now.
a lot less than
Yeah,
that. Now
certainly
it's
a lot less than
now
there is
it's
now.
definitely oversaturated.
I feel like
but
everyone is a
everybody
DJ now, it
everybody
seems like.
is a
Yeah.
DJ. Everybody
sure.
is. But back then I said, you know what? Like I have an opportunity to like make something happen here. There's definitely a need for like what I do.
Mhm.
And obviously at that time, like it was always like the house music, the bass house music.
Mhm.
And that was what was kind of like drawing my
This was
attention.
2018, you
This
said?
was fall 2018.
Yeah.
So, as you know, I joined the Kappa Sigma fraternity.
Yeah, what's up? Cade and I are fraternity brothers as well. Fun fact, part of the reason I was so excited to have him on. So all our Kappa Sigs out there, A to B.
Yeah. So, also huge tip for anybody, I guess, starting out. If you think you are not a great DJ, but you want an opportunity to play stages, get feedback from people, honestly, join a fraternity. That
Yeah.
is just like, oh, now of course I know everybody's story is different, everybody's whatever, but for me at least, being able to like have that opportunity to like play parties and play like little things here and there,
Yeah.
definitely gave me the confidence to like
Mhm.
pursue bigger things, and also it gave me like the confidence to kind of ask for feedback back from like friends and like ask for like help.
Sure.
Pretty much.
Sure. Yeah, it was instrumental for me getting started, especially too. And like even the Kappa Sig parties,
Definitely.
you know, like we would have either guys like off campus houses, we'd
Yeah.
have a little get together or whatever it is, or even like the socials that we were doing. And actually it was kind of funny because it was like that's initially how I got into a lot of these clubs was I would just DJ one of our fraternity
Exactly.
socials
It's
there.
the same thing.
Yeah,
Same thing.
and then you meet the manager or whatever, whoever is running the music or doing the booking there,
Totally.
and kind of one thing leads to another. So yeah, I mean, I guess right off the bat, join a fraternity or something like that, or at least get
or
a
just
platform.
yeah, exactly. You know, join a group.
Yeah,
Even like working at bars.
yeah,
Just
for sure.
networking in general.
Literally,
Yeah.
just go and meet people.
Mhm.
Honestly, the worst thing I can say is like, you should not enter your 4 years of college and not like at least want to branch out and like meet people
Mhm.
and like try new things. Like, and I know this is like a dumb example, but when I first got the gig for Top Tier, it wasn't actually DJing.
Mhm.
I would bring the decks, set them up at Simon's. People would play on them, and then
Yeah.
they'd be gross. But then I'd unpack it at like
Yeah, for
2:30.
sure.
So like my first 2 or 3 nights with Top Tier, like I wasn't even DJing. I was,
Mhm.
the help. I was like the stage.
You did
man, I
all the
guess.
work for all the DJs and then didn't actually get the glory of
Exactly,
DJing.
exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
And that was before high noons too, so there were no high noons to clean up out of the booth. No,
Oh.
no buckets.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Actually,
That's okay.
and this is also cool as well, but being able to like see where I was and like where I'm at like now, a lot of these people who I was like setting up for and packing up
Mhm.
are people who are like opening for me now,
Yeah,
are like the
They're-
same people who,
they're
right?
setting up your stuff now.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like
That's funny.
it's totally full circle now, and
Yep.
I'm super thankful for like
Mhm.
everything that's been kind of like handed my way with DJing, and also I'm like super thankful for just like the grind of having to like get to that point, and like
Yeah, man.
because honestly, people don't realize like the amount of effort it takes to put together a set,
Yeah, for sure.
get the confidence to, like play these clubs and stuff. It
Has
really
it-
is a big deal.
Has DJing for you always been like a full process like that and
Oh,
putting
totally,
together the sets
totally.
and all that? Is
So-
that something more of a modern and newer development?
No, it is always been. I've always been like a really bad overthinker
Sure.
with music, and not that I pre-make my sets. I don't do that. But even like nowadays, I think I'm playing 60 to 70% only my edits. It's staying up all night in Ableton, making edits for the show tomorrow.
Sure.
Or like, for example, new, like the EP, like all originals, new, like, I mean, just like it's that hustle and grind that nobody sees that like really counts. And so not that I struggle.
I always say it's like the 90% of
Totally.
what you're doing is that what people are not seeing.
Yep.
Like 90% of success is what people are not seeing is what's leading to it,
And so to like your point, it's like, do I have that like confidence like walking into a set? Yes, because I've prepped for it. And of course there's times where I'm like super anxious about playing and like playing like bigger crowds and like bigger shows. But if you know that you've put the work in and like where you've kind of came from and where you're at, you shouldn't have a worry in the world.
So you said you overthink a lot.
Oh, totally.
Right. Do you still get that overthinking kind of mentality with your DJing now that you've been doing it for so long?
It definitely evolves. So I don't know how to explain this, but starting off, it was like, okay, can I get away with playing things that are like a little bit out of the box? Now that I'm like at that point now, it's like
that can be a very slippery slope that you go on.
That can
for
be
sure,
that can be a rabbit hole for sure. But now it's no longer like, can I get away with playing things out of the box? It's like, okay, can I get away with like, I don't know, honestly, like it's always just evolving and like becoming new. So like, for example, nowadays the big thing I kind of deal with and like struggle with is, can I push this envelope even further? Yeah. Like I've been able to play like harder stuff in nightclubs. What's that next step? Can I get away with like my own music? Yeah. And that's a huge jump for me is like, is my music good enough? Is what I'm pumping out good enough that it's now playable in like nightclub settings? For sure. So that's definitely my big struggle like nowadays.
Yeah. But what you see there is like a progression of that. Cause I mean, when you first start DJing, like you can overthink and it's sometimes even like you're doubting your own skills. Definitely. And now I think part of the progression that you've seen is now you're way past that, right? Like you're not doubting your own skills. And even like you said, like some of the guys who you were setting up for them, now they're metaphorically setting up for you, right? And it's always good to work with other DJs and learn. Like,
I love it.
Yeah, like we're not saying anything like that.
I love being able to like not only help out people, but also learn from them and like learn from like, other DJs in kind of our like Florida circuit of like college DJs. Yeah, for sure. I love learning like other people's stories. I love learning like where they've come from, what they're doing now. And then even for me, like I love like giving that out. Like I feel personally that I'm like super selfless with like, hey, if you want my songs for tonight, go ahead, take this, But like, no, you're right. It's all about that network. Sure. Expanding who you know. But also,
what would be your number one tip to networking or to growing your network as a DJ?
Number one tip,
because we all agree it's important. Obviously, like that's something we've talked about before, for sure. So like
a lot of times more who you know rather than like if you're able to DJ. And then obviously if you can't DJ, they're gonna be like, all right, well you're never coming back. But like just to get that initial foot in, like you have to typically know someone, like you said, whether it's like that stage for your frat social or like something. It's usually like knowing people and networking initially, and then actually getting like retaining it from doing a good job.
I'd say my biggest tip for networking is just don't be scared. Sure. Because I think DJing in general, and I think you
Jesse just spilt his LaCroix onto his phone. You're very casual about the fact that there's LaCroix literally sitting on top of your phone right now.
It's a waterproof phone, and it has a waterproof case on the waterproof phone.
I just don't like that.
As a DJ, I'm like everything's got to be waterproof. Waterproof.
Otterbox, sponsored by Otterbox.
Yeah, talking about we'll be DJing in clubs and people will literally just spill drinks onto the mixer.
You have no idea.
Just brush it off, whatever.
This is actually a really funny story, but one of my good friends, this was a Techno Tuesday last year. And of course, like in the booth, like, okay, yeah, I'll have a drink or two. But like by no means
or two. Yeah, that's it. No more
but
for
like,
sure.
But like, they'll bring like a bottle out.
I'm gonna find a picture of you from one of the times you're DJing where there's like 7 drink cups in front of you.
Chugging the champagne gun, the Tommy gun champagne.
Yeah, just but one of my buddies, all right, so like I typically don't drink a ton.
Yeah,
because
sure.
like I just like being focused. You know,
Of
what I mean?
course.
there's
as you're sitting with your yerba mate here, yeah.
sponsor me, please, please. But one of my good buddies, we got like a bottle in the booth, and he's like, "Oh, is this for me now?" And I was like, "Honestly, take it. I'm not drinking it. I have like an exam tomorrow, whatever." Takes the mixer, it was like cranberry juice, and just all over the CDJs.
And that's a sticky-ish. Oh God,
And
man.
all over the CDJs. And I looked at him and I was like, "You're lucky. I love you.
Yeah.
You're lucky. I love you because
You're testing that love though a lot right now.
Oh my
for
gosh.
Sure.
But back to your question though about like networking in general.
yeah.
Definitely don't be scared. I think we all can attest to like the fact that like DJing in general and like that kind of DJ like persona is like a little bit corny. And
it's more than a little
right,
bit corny
and like
for sure.
right, and like at times there's a threshold of like marketing yourself, and then there's like way overdoing it, and like just like being corny, right?
Yeah.
So I think my thing is like don't be scared to kind of push that a little bit. Like don't be scared to like text bar owners. Don't be scared to like get a job as like a bar back at a place you want to eventually play.
Yep.
Because who knows when that opportunity finally presents itself, you know, if you're going like head to head for the job and it's either a random DJ from XYZ chapter of, you know, whatever, or like you who works at the club as bartender, barback, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're probably going to like you because they trust you. They know you work here. So you've seen the ins and outs. Like there's so many ways to network in this town, especially, and like even just any college town in general. Like there's so many ways to get involved that I feel like to not at least try or like to be scared is, you know, a waste. You know, my biggest fear. And I even have moments like nowadays where I'm like, wow, I'm graduating soon. Like I'm so thankful for like what I've done and like what I've been able to accomplish.
Sure.
But one of the things that kind of scares me is like, what if I never reached out to top tier? What if I never asked to like open Simon's the one weekend? What if I never asked to like whatever? Because, you know, I would have never gotten techno. I would have definitely not have gotten any of these concerts I've opened or like any of that kind of fun stuff. I probably would have never pursued production as far as I have. I mean, to like sit and write like an entire EP or an album. I mean, I'm sure you know, it's just a whole process.
It's a lot
like
of work.
taking those risks, reaching out to those people, networking yourself, even though it might be a bit kind of corny, was definitely the best thing that has ever happened to me.
Yeah.
So
I think as someone who books DJs and like works with a lot of different DJs, that's huge advice. And a lot of the times the way I go about it is the same way that I'll go about like when I'm talking to another business owner or something is I'm in a couple networking groups, and a lot of what we talk about is like VCP, which is visibility, credibility, profitability. So it's like you have to go through this process, and like if you're not visible, you're not going to be credible to anyone. If you're not credible, then you can't be profitable and leverage whatever it is. So you have to have that visibility first. And like you're talking about it, whether it's bar backing or whether it's working in these clubs. But something else I think is really good, and even Jesse's big on this too, is like the most successful DJs I see, I'll see them even when they're not working all the time. Like we'll be in one of the nightclubs and I see them just hanging out, talking to people.
Totally.
Or, you know, it'll be one of our events and they're not even DJing that night, and I still see them out.
It's, you know what? It's just being a good person. Like if you are like,
I mean, that's more than DJing, right? Like that's just in life. Just be a good person.
If you're a positive person that like people enjoy being around, you have the upper hand on anything in life. Yeah. And
I agree.
Even, and I'm sure you two also have like friends like this or like whatever.
I don't have any friends.
Yeah, same.
It's
honestly.
very bold of you to assume that, actually.
But I've got like 3 or 4 friends that I know, like anytime they're in the booth with me or anytime I'm like freaking out about something, because I overthink it, overcomplicate everything to the max. I have like 3 or 4 friends that if they're in the booth with me, talking to me, calming me down, whatever, I'm fine. Jeez. So like for me personally, like I'm ecstatic to talk about this. But for me personally, like if I didn't have those positive people like in my life or didn't have those people that I can turn to, like I would have never had any kind of confidence to like take this further, like take it to like that next step. And so to your point, like if you're not visible, like and you're not providing people like with that kind of like love and like you're not there actively like helping people out, you're right. You're not going to be profitable at all as a business, and also like profitable as in just like human to human interaction in general, if that makes any sense.
No, for sure. And I think
people see the value in like keeping you as a friend.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
No, absolutely. And I think, like I said, like in someone who books DJs is like you got to make it easy for them.
Totally.
Like something that, and we've talked about it with other rappers and musicians. Like you have to make it easy for the person that you're trying to receive value from, right? And something that kills me is like when I'll be in these venues and I'll be standing right next to Jesse DJing or another guy, and like a DJ will come up and say, "Hey man, I love the vibes. Like you're killing it. You guys are doing great. I see the GMV Entertainment on your chest, whatever. Like, how do I be a part of what you're doing?" And Jesse or whoever it is will say, "Like, look, like that's the owner of the company right there. Just go up, shake his hand, say hi." And there's people who will refuse to do it, like for whether they're scared or whether they're anxious or whatever, is like they'll refuse to even make that first handshake. And my thought is, they could be the best DJ in the world, right? But if they don't have the kind of the kind of confidence and the kind of persona to even come up and introduce themselves even, right? Like not even ask for a gig, but to introduce themselves, then I have a lot of questions about their professionalism and all that. So you have to be your own best advocate. You have to be your own best proponent, because like if you're not, then who is?
That's like that cliche saying, like if you don't believe in yourself, no one will believe in you.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I think to explain my point better, because it's super hard to like explain this, but what do you think is like what makes you profitable as a business besides just like money? Because like that's like my point is like there's so many other things that you as a DJ or like you as just like a person, like what is profitable, like what is profit besides just like obviously just like money.
It's very rare that I get asked a question, right? This is so fun. I'm gonna slip Cade a $50 bill under the table now, so it's like, hey, thanks for setting me up for that. No, man, I mean, all jokes aside, like profitable is one of it, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, I think that we live in a society, like we live in a free market. Like money means that you're providing value to people, because money means that you're solving problems and you're offering a solution. So that's really good. But something that's more important to me even than just necessarily like the money side of it and being profitable is being able to hit your goals. So something for us, like in the tagline of the GMV Entertainment, is to entertain and empower, right? So everything I ask myself that we're doing, and for a while it wasn't always this, but everything I ask myself we're doing now, like, is this entertaining and is this empowering? And a lot of times it's easy on the entertaining side because we're doing trivia, we're DJing, we're doing whatever it is, but the empowering side is more important. So I want people, when they come to our events, to know that they're going to have a good time. They're going to have a moment of joy. Like it's positive. You know, I try to make sure that there's not a lot of negativity going on at events and all that. So for me, the money side is one of it, but you have to also ask yourself, like, what are your goals? And for one big goal for me was to entertain and empower. So if I'm entertaining and I'm empowering, then I think that I'm successful, and I think that the business is successful. So it doesn't have to be entertainment. It doesn't have to be empowerment, but whatever your goals are, or whatever your business goals are, like you should metric yourself against that.
No,
in order for profitability.
Totally agree with that. My big thing, honestly, is, people are spending their hard-earned money to come out and like see you play.
Yeah.
People are in some ways almost wasting their personal time to come and enjoy what you're putting out. And so for me, like my goal is like, if I can make, and this is also great advice, like new DJs, it doesn't matter if you're playing a room of 10 people or 10,000 people. If you can make one person's day,
amen.
Like if there's just one person that like you can just turn their life around completely with just music, or just like being able to like curate a night for them, is so powerful to me, and is like such an important thing. And that's honestly what keeps me going, is because a lot of times, I show up each Tuesday to techno, and it's the same thing over. It's I show up at 10:50, get on at 11, leave at 2, and like as much as like techno is awesome and it's like this humongous event, a lot of times it can become a bit like mundane, I think, and like it can become very like common. Like it just feels like it's just like
1:26 p.m.
Techno.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of arguably techno as a genre, right? Like,
but honestly,
comfortable familiarness.
But like
a whole separate
experiences.
conversation.
Right, but like side note, this past year we've been experimenting a lot with the harder stuff at techno,
for sure.
which has been awesome. But but like the thing that keeps me exciting, or like that keeps me excited about every Tuesday, is like I have an opportunity to play in front of somebody who has never heard me play.
Yeah.
And this could either help me out networking because they could know somebody who owns XYZ club, or I'm helping them out because they just failed their exam.
Yeah.
And now they had a horrible day and their friends dragged them out. I have a chance to now brighten their day and make their mood.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
maybe they'll spill the cranberry juice on their friends' mixer tonight.
Oh my God, please. But that kind of explains what I was kind of like getting at earlier, is because I think to be profitable is not just like, oh, I make a ton of money tonight. You know, I made $300 tonight playing a club. To me, profitable is like I expanded my network. I met new people. This person told me that they had an awful day, and they brought their friends out tonight to the club, and it was so for me. There's so many other things to be profitable in, and my dad and I argue about this all the time. So I'll tell him like, hey, I got this awesome gig coming up. I'm opening for like this big artist, or like I'm opening a concert up, or like I'm playing this new nightclub I've never played before.
Sure.
And I love my dad to death, but his first question every time is, oh, are they paying you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but I think right now what's more important is like the exposure, the network, and
your own happiness.
Yeah.
Right. And also like making me happy. And so it's finding that kind of like checks and balance with like, okay, am I getting screwed over? Like, am I playing this for like little to no money, or is the networking side of it and the exposure side of it going to outweigh getting paid? And so
I think for new DJs especially, like, this is an important one, walking that line between, well, like, do I need to be getting paid, and I'm kind of still getting my feet wet. And I think what I always say is, don't be scared to do the free gigs at first.
Oh my gosh,
because doing them is going to allow you to weed out which ones are actually good and which ones are actually bad. So like, I still to this day, like, I'll do gigs for free if I know, but my radar of which gigs are going to be more beneficial is way more accurate, right? So like, the more gigs you do, the more you can understand how you can leverage them and what benefit you can get. So just don't be scared, or don't be afraid to like take these gigs at first, the free ones and stuff, because you never know what they're going to lead to in your case too.
That's
but
totally an amazing point.
Yeah, and even if they don't lead to anything, like you got the experience in working different rooms. Like when I started, I was doing everything from like weddings to proms to I did a birthday party one time, and it was like 3 people in their living room, and it was just me DJing. And it was weird, and it was fine. I mean, and I got paid for that one actually, but like, you have to play so many different rooms, and I think the free part of that's
so much too. Like, it definitely teaches you a lot about who you are, like, not only as a DJ but a person. It shows like it shows like your willingness to like take free gigs, or like it shows how much you love DJing, that the money kind of doesn't matter. Yeah. And so for me, my biggest advice to like young guys and like guys who are just starting out in this is, if your parents are paying your dues and your parents are paying your tuition, there is no excuse to not take free gigs at all. And even in like my case too, where I've been doing this now for like like in Gainesville, been doing this now for like 2.5 years. I think even still to this day, like, if there's an opportunity where, like, okay, perfect example of this, I had an opportunity to open for Carnage, and meet him, and that was like a really cool.
You're not gonna turn that down.
Yeah, no. But at the same time, I was offered like a gig for like way more money than I would ever make. I chose the free gig with Carnage because one, it's a free Carnage show, which, I mean, I don't know. Right.
If nothing else,
But also getting that chance to kind of put that on like my resume, and like getting that chance to like meet him, talk to him, and like see how he runs his sets, because like think about it, I was on stage.
It's a free lesson. Yeah.
It's right. And so like you learn things. I think one thing too that's cool about like meeting that level of like, because I mean, it's Carnage. He is EDM, right? He is one of the biggest. I mean, like I was like literally 12 years old listening to like Spaceman, like all the like trap remixes and stuff. It kind of makes you realize that is a human being. Yeah. And like seeing him on the decks, you're like, oh, that's it? Like, like that's all he's doing?
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, right, like, all of this is not benefit you're going to get at a standard nightclub. Like, if you're just there DJing a standard nightclub gig where you're getting paid at the end of the day, like, that's great. And, of course, some people and a lot of people are not in that same position where they have, like, their parents paying their dues, or whatever, maybe they're on scholarship or whatever it may be. So, you're going to get so many benefits that you wouldn't necessarily get from some of these free gigs that you got to take them. But it can be hard for people, like I said, because some people just like aren't in that financial position.
Totally.
So what I always say is that you got to understand how to use your skills in order to make money. And so, for example, like a lot of DJs, they're scared to take on like weddings and proms and birthday parties and all these things because it's not the glory gigs that they want. And like no one really becomes a DJ because
they pay the best.
Yeah,
and you know
they do.
They pay the best.
You know, no one becomes a DJ because they want to rock a wedding, or no one becomes a DJ. But like at the end of the day, you know, that's what was like allowing me to advance my DJ career for a long time, even just speaking personally, right? Like I can't speak for other people, but personally for me, that was what allowed it to kind of keep going.
And you learned probably so much from that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And even the kind of crazy, like being creative with music, and a perfect example, like dropping Dancing Queen in sets, right? Which I think I've heard both of you guys do at different points now.
Every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Saturday.
Yeah.
As often as we can.
If I could play an entire set of
just
Dancing Queen, I think I would probably do that.
That might get sick after a little bit of it, but hey, man,
that's on our side. Now we have to make it creative.
Yeah. You keep talking about pushing the envelope.
Yeah,
you know, push that envelope a little bit. 2 hours of Dancing Queen. But yeah, so in addition to like you're gonna get all these skills, that sometimes that's what pays the bill. And so look at that, I was rhyming. I didn't even realize. And
DJ Dr. Seuss.
DJ Seuss, you get me canceled now. We don't want to do that. But don't be necessarily afraid to take like the proms and the weddings and all that sort of thing, because if that's what's going to get you paid, like you're going to get skills.
Absolutely.
And it's also going to make you, I think, more versatile than a lot of other DJs are, because there's a lot of DJs who do not want to do that.
We discussed that a couple podcasts ago, just having like an expansive library of just being able to DJ. If you see a bunch of like 40-year-old moms on the dance floor, like if you've done a couple like weddings or birthday parties or a couple bar mitzvahs where there's like older people that want to dance, and you know what's going to get them on the floor.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So you got to play that song and then play whatever song's going to get the teenagers dancing with them, and then keep them together for 10 minutes.
Totally.
Yeah.
And isolate it around.
No, my like advice on that is definitely make sure your palette is as wide as possible.
Yeah.
And that teaches you how to play rooms that are 10 people or 10,000 like that. Like being able to like have that experience with playing an array of things, whether it's like a wedding, a prom, or like, you know.
Did you play weddings and proms
never,
and all that?
Actually,
really?
never. So that was the one thing that I knew. And again, to like our point of like money versus like time and experience, whenever I was offered like weddings, like that kind of like that like type of stuff.
Sure.
I figured if I spent the 3-4 hours that I like would be playing, but if I spent that on like producing or like learning stuff like with production, then that was almost more beneficial than like playing that.
Sure.
And honestly, looking back on it, you know, hindsight's always 20/20, but it worked out. You know, learning producing the past like 4 or 5 years has been.
It's a full-time job.
Totally.
People don't realize that. Yeah, but like music production is a big thing in itself.
And it's a big expense. I mean, think about it. I think Ableton 11 just came out, and Ableton
$1,000 probably.
Dude, Ableton 11 Suite is like $1,100
at least.
And then for me, who's like a suite owner already, to upgrade's like $500. So it's definitely a big investment. And I think I've been producing now. I think it's like 4.5 years now of like actually like going through like Ableton and like opening up whatever. Out of those 4.5 years, there was like a 2-year gray period where nothing sounded great, right?
It's kind of like a valley that you go through, and like when you first get into music production, and this is really any hobby, by the way. Like if you first get into video editing or filmmaking,
totally
or anything,
same thing. Even DJing, honestly, same thing.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. And so like you'll have this moment where your first couple things that you put out are just, like you're so excited, and there's so much creative energy that's going on that it's just like it feels like you're just skyrocketing, and then a lot of times like you either plateau
you
or
hit those valleys.
I mean,
valleys.
But for years.
Like,
literal years that this can last, where you're just, I mean, it feels like nothing is sticking and nothing is sounding good.
Yeah, I had a gray period of like probably 2 years where nothing was just great, whatever. But even still to this day, like, you know, I'd say I'm at the point now where like I'm putting out listenable music that like I can play in a club, or like that I'm comfortable throwing in my own sets. And still to this day, even though I feel like I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I'm pumping out good music, I still have these like eureka moments where I'm like, oh, that sounds really awesome. I've never done that before. Like, oh, just learned that.
Sure.
So I think, you know, a lot of these new guys, these like new DJs, one of the most important things you can do for your career is, yes, balance, you know, the paid gigs versus the unpaid gigs for like the, you know, basically money versus like experience.
And I think the point is like for everyone it's personal, right? Like for me, I mean, it was what was paying the bills and allowing me to take these free gigs and get that experience. And for you, like you decided that it was more beneficial in your career,
investing in yourself.
Investing in yourself. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer necessarily. I think you just have to be aware of the benefits of everything ahead of you and not shut down something as an opportunity just because it's there.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Like,
so my point is with that is not to necessarily invest in like you're right, like paid, unpaid, or like invest in yourself, but like try and find another asset that can be marketable and also that can like work out. So there's a lot of people who like DJ, but also they're like a personality or you know, like for example, how I explain it is like you're either a Pauly D or you're like, you know, a Skrillex, where it's like all production based, all whatever, or you're like, you know, big entertainment star, whatever.
Sure.
So being able to leverage DJing with like another asset, whether it's production, entertainment in general, like to leverage those two is like a gold mine.
Yeah.
And that's the point.
What's that other asset for you, do you think?
Production. Definitely production. So back to the point, like taking the wedding or taking the 3-4 hours, like learn production. I think being able to like reinvest that back to myself was huge for me.
Yeah.
And it's also a huge risk because who knows, like down the pipeline, if I didn't enjoy, you know, production, if I would have just like scratched it in general.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, my advice is definitely, if you're, you know, a DJ or just in this lifestyle, finding a way to have that like second asset, like to not rely solely on DJing, but also like, for example, you with like the podcast and also all this new stuff with the like empowerment, like today, like your story about like, you know, being thankful, like gratitude.
Sure. I'm hosting like weekly Zoom
awesome,
calls,
right?
and we're all talking about various positive subjects.
Yeah,
sure.
Being able to leverage DJing with some kind of other asset like that in this world, especially with COVID, no shows are happening across the country.
Sure.
Well, Florida, but that's another story. But in this day and age, this is my biggest advice I can probably give to any DJ. Leverage yourself with something else, whether that's the production, entertaining, finding that balance between like, hey, I'm really good at this, but also I DJ is going to give you a gig at a club that you probably never had.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's from a team mentality, right? Because we all kind of approach this as a team, and like we all DJ together and help each other out. That the more that you can offer to your team, and like even, you know, you at Top Tier, for example, is that you're not only a resident DJ, but like, you know, you're constantly reposting. You're an asset with the setting up of the sound and all that sort of thing. Yeah. So you have all these other skills that make you very, very valuable as opposed to just DJing. And the unfortunate truth, like as new DJs, is like we said, is everyone is a DJ now. Oh, literally everyone.
Everybody is.
I can. I'm in downtown Gainesville right now. I could probably throw a rock and hit a DJ. Like that's the way of the world. So you got to have something else.
To like half of my point, like half of your point, how are you going to make yourself stand out?
Yeah.
If everybody is I DJ, right? Well, what makes you different than the next guy? And to me, that's like having the other hobby, whether it's like, you know, being a producer, being like some sort of like personality.
Yeah. Well, you as a producer, I think it adds a lot of marketing value to what you're doing too, because
totally,
you're not only marketing and so I work as like a marketing consultant too, helping out other businesses, and like something I appreciate them is like the more contacts you can get with your customers, the more valuable and the more of a benefit you're going to be to them. So you as a DJ, like your customers, right, is your audience, the people who follow you on Instagram, the people who come and see you play every Tuesday, Saturday, wherever you're at. So the more you can connect and the more times, and as a DJ, like if you're playing 2 nights a week, okay, so there's 2 connections with the audience a week. Like you got to be posting every single other day, but are you only posting about those 2 nights? Because that can get repetitive, right?
Oh,
so
yeah,
like
big time.
with
and
you,
disregard the posting. He actually produced the EP, so they can, even though they have the 2 performances or they're listening to them, they can listen to them any day they want.
Yeah, well,
at any given time.
No, but that's what I'm saying too. Is it gives you like so much more to promote yourself with, and so you don't become stale to the audience when all you're promoting is, hey, every Friday I'm here, every Saturday I'm here, and then next week
that's a great point.
Every Friday I'm here, it gets stale. So
also it makes your sets original, right? So think about it. If I'm playing only 60, honestly, probably more, 70-80% my own edits, plus I have my actual like original tunes and my like, you know, all these new songs that I'm like putting out and stuff. Like it makes it fun, and it makes it like, you know, like you're not gonna go out on any night and hear like that same set.
Yeah.
Because you both know, especially, you can go out somewhere, not be DJing, but like you hear a certain edit come on, you hear a certain, and you're like, oh, they got that on Club Killers, or they got that on like LDS. But you know, being able to like play my own music and edits that I've made, makes it a bit more personal, and like for sure. it makes it a bit more like it makes me more of an asset, because like you're not going to hear these same songs if you book someone else.
Yeah. No, I think like you said, like whether it's the production, whether it's your marketing value. I mean, this is going to sound funny, but like Dylan Francis, the thing I know him for more than him being a good DJ and a producer is like he's so funny on social media.
Hilarious.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
He
puts out these videos that are like just parody videos and stuff, and they're really funny. So he's accessing a whole new audience that's not you know, EDM listeners.
He's
or big
plugged
DJ
in with arguably more people in that realm than he is with like EDM fans. And yet he'll still headline everything. Right.
So it's you know, him leveraging something that's entirely outside of DJing and like a skill he has is just being really funny.
A DJ and comedian.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a fantastic
So
point.
he's just super funny, and well, thank you. Okay.
So another 50.
Yeah, exactly. Right, here you go. Yeah, you hyping me
This
up.
guy's genius. This guy's brilliant.
I am out of 50s, man. So let's slow it down. Yeah, man. I think it's great advice. Like, find out what else you're good at, and if it's unique, that's even better. And if it's less unique, like get really good at it.
This is also kind of sidetracked, but DJs, if you are new to this and you want to make yourself different and stand out, you don't have to make music. You don't have to learn Ableton for 1,000 hours. Learn how to make edits. Learn how to make your own stuff that you know. Look, if you have 20 or 30 songs that you know at any point can shift the entire club, or that can just like just revamp the entire experience. Yeah, man. That is so key. Like, and again, you don't need any Ableton experience at all. You know, I'm sure you're aware of this, but like to make an edit, you can just stack two songs, put a soft clipper on the master track, and there you go. You have your own personal thing that now only you have and like you can play with.
It's certainly a good start. I mean, it's a great start. That's 80% of it, truthfully, and just production. I mean, there's so much production in terms of like editing and all that. So the difference between an edit and a remix too is like a remix, because there's gonna be people who don't know what we're talking about. A remix is you're producing a lot of basically just taking like the acapella or the vocal stem of a track and reproducing, making a new song basically. An edit, what we're talking about is basically like taking the pre-existing tracks and chopping them up without actually having the different parts laid out and everything. So really the moral of the story there is that like you can just dive into this, that there's especially the beauty of the world we live in now. Like we're joking, everyone's a DJ and I can throw rock, but the other beautiful side of that is that it is so accessible for so many new people to get into. So
people shouldn't be scared of like looking at Ableton or like, you know, like any of these DAWs. Like people shouldn't be scared of like look like yes, they are very intense, and you know, even 4 years of like making music myself and like producing, there's still plenty of things I have no clue about, right? And there's always gonna be somebody who knows more than you, and there's always gonna be somebody who knows less than you. But if you want to get started, they're like, these programs are so accessible for people of all kind of like skill ranges and age ranges that like if you're a DJ and you want to make an edit, but yet you don't want to make like a 100-channel track or remix, you can do that. And like, you know, even in my library, I probably have like, actually I counted a few days ago, I'm at like 400 edits.
Yeah, probably. That's
right.
And I mean, even that's in your, how long you been producing for? 2018,
like
so 3 years,
I think like summer 20, so like four years.
100 edits a year. Yeah. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
One every 3 days.
I think of things because I've never invested the time to actually learn into it, but I'll tell him I think of it like really silly or stupid or to me hilarious
Those
ideas.
Are the best though.
And I'll be like, dude, it says this and this song says this, and I was like, do it. And then he'll send it to me like 2 days later, and I'm like, yes.
And honestly, those do the best. Those stupid dumb edits.
Yeah. They're the easiest to make. So, in keeping this again, you know, educational and advice and all that, as new DJs who are maybe wanting to get into production, and DJing is kind of their first stop in this whole journey, because a lot of times, you know, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, totally.
How did you get started? Like, how did you initially start just diving in? Like, was it YouTube tutorials for you?
So,
were you like, how did you learn to produce music?
People don't understand the power of like, you have a website that has in a lifetime, just an unlimited amount of information in YouTube.
Yeah.
And if you're watching the right people, and there's probably hundreds for each DAW, you know, like if you use Ableton, if you use FL Studio, use Logic, there's hundreds of people in each category that are just amazing. Like a few, for example, so I use Ableton, but I watch a lot of guys who use Logic, and my logic, with that is like, if I can learn how somebody is doing this in another program, it's going to make it easier for me.
It's interesting.
Which is a bit more complex. But if you're first starting out, like, utilize YouTube. Find somebody that like clicks with you. Even if it's a bit too advanced, that's fine. But like, because look, even if they are too advanced, there's always going to be that gray period of like, I'm making nothing. Yeah. Even if everything is making sense and you're putting on, you know, music, whatever, there's going to be a gray period where it is horrible. And that's just like the flat out reality of it. And a lot of times too, like, people are just, oh, I'm going to start producing, I'm going to make a song and put it out next week. Like,
good luck.
It doesn't matter if you are like Beethoven or you are like, you know, like literally nothing in music. It is going to be difficult to start out. And so I think my advice is, if you want to leverage DJing with music production, I think the best way to start out is just download Ableton or download what.
There are free versions of all of these softwares.
There's free versions of everything. Just experiment. Yep. Don't be scared to like, and of course there's so many people that'll like give you rules and like try and put you in a box with producing. If you're not scared to kind of push those boundaries and you're not scared to kind of push those rules, I guess. Sure. Like, you're never going to be innovative. You're never going to push that boundary or push that threshold of like what the new sound is. And I think a lot of people nowadays.
So do you think that when you're getting started, right? Because I think at a certain point, like, we gotta learn what a compressor does. We gotta learn what an EQ does. Totally. Right? So when you're getting started, do you think that focusing more on the creative side of things, or focusing more? You don't even need to hear the rest of that question.
Creative side, totally. If you're not comfortable with who you are as a creator, and this is a huge tip, if you're not comfortable with who you are as a creator and as a music producer, it doesn't matter if you know how to use, you know, any tool, whether it's a compressor, EQ, like limiting. It doesn't matter if you have the best mix downs and the best mastering, like. If your songs aren't creative and your songs aren't pushing that boundary of like what is regular in music, you're never going to branch out. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so many people nowadays who are like making such experimental music, but it's clicking with people. One, because live shows aren't happening. So I think since like concerts aren't going on, people are kind of like people are taking more chances because they know like they're not going to have to play it live. People are taking such just absurd risks with like sound design, just
bringing in all that.
Totally.
What did you say earlier? Granular synthesis.
If you've ever heard a Flume song, that's all it is.
You want to give our viewers like 30 seconds of what granular synthesis is.
Granular synthesis. So you can there's this super cool tool in like every single DAW. Ableton has an amazing granulator, and what it is you can like drag a sample into it, whether it's like a full-length song or like a tiny sample, and Ableton's algorithm automatically splits it up into grains. And now grains are like just little portions of like the song. That's all that means. And there's like all these different tools to use to like stretch out the sound or like make it like play over again in like super simple basic terms. Like, you can basically take a little sound and like you can stretch it out. You can make it play a bunch and like makes like these really cool things out of it. If you've ever heard a Flume song, every Flume song on the planet is granular synthesis.
Granular synthesis is the Flume sound.
There you go.
That's crazy. Yeah, and I think, you know, I would agree with you initially for sure, and I wanted to see what you said, but definitely I think the creativity is more important at first, because it's going to allow you later to understand how you can use these things creatively. Absolutely. And it's kind of like the old adage, like,
that is exactly
you got to learn the rules in order to break them. And it's like, so, well, for music, it's kind of backwards, I think, because you have to break the rules, just be creative, get something out there, you know, understand who you are as a creator, and then kind of put these limits and understand how then you can use a grain delay or a granular synthesis or whatever it is in all these crazy different ways.
Definitely.
Because you already have been using creativity.
It's so like cliche, but like it's like, oh, you know, you miss, what is it, 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
Yeah.
But think about all these other major producers and these like major DJs. Think about how many times they've been told no in their life.
Yeah, man.
So even when you're like creating and you're breaking all these rules, you learn like, okay, maybe I should dial this back. Maybe this is not going to work. But you learn like, oh, but if I push this a bit further, this could be creative and like innovative, whatever. So definitely learning, like learning your, okay, bottom line, this is the perfect way to explain it. Learning about yourself as a producer or a DJ, like it is way more important to learn about yourself than it is to like learn the tools that you're, because that'll, listen, you can teach anybody how to DJ. You can teach anybody what all the tools do in like Ableton.
Could probably teach a monkey how to do it if you had enough
time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. But if you don't know yourself and you don't know yourself as a creator, you're gonna fail every time.
I like that. We talked, because the last 2 episodes too, I had Jameson and then Leondis out of Orlando. And we've talked about identity on both of those episodes, you know, and so it's cool to see it just come back like that same thing. Just kind of find out.
I think it's innate in what we do. Like this is like a very expressive career of being the DJing and then the producing as well. It's very like as you're playing, it's kind of like part of you being brought out as well. And just like Pocahontas, you got to listen to the colors of the wind.
It's a great reference.
Yeah,
that was fantastic.
It just comes out of us like in their styles, whether it's like the silliness as we're having fun while it still sounds good, or like the very technical, I'm focused, I'm in there. It's like transition on transition, or they're on point back to back to back. It's just whatever you are in that moment is very visceral to the crowd, and it's coming out. So it's a super personal thing that we do.
Yeah, I think it's again, you know, we talked about like forming that connection with the crowd, and DJing really at its base is forming a relationship with whoever your audience is, and like vulnerability, all these other kind of things that we're talking about aside from just the things you're doing with your DJ deck to explain, right, is like so important and form that connection. So I love it, man. I think like that's a lot of good advice, obviously, all these new DJs and everything. So you know, thanks for coming on out. Definitely.
You guys for having me,
I love keeping it educational and all that. So let these people know where they can find you and what is coming up next for DJ Butler, man.
Okay, so this Tuesday we got Techno Tuesday at the Range, as usual. Nothing new there. We got Twisted Thursday at White Buffalo. We got maybe DTF on Friday, not sure. Question mark on that one.
Big question mark on that one. Yeah, we'll see.
Opening a concert this Saturday at Simon's. Cannot disclose who it is just yet, but humongous artist on Saturday. Huge, big time show. So definitely grab.
Is it Diesel?
Man,
maybe.
That's a big guy.
Let's see what else we got. I got a new remix this Friday coming out of Olivia Rodrigo Driver's License.
I saw
What's that?
earlier.
I've never heard that song. What is it?
Let me tell you about Driver's License. Turn on your phone.
Yeah, right.
Go on the internet.
Go on literally any social media app right now.
Next week, next Friday, I'm putting out my very first edit pack. So all my favorite edits from like the past year, 2 years are going to be free for download. Ooh. I'm handing out, I think, 10 or 15.
On what platforms?
SoundCloud. So what you do is you go on SoundCloud. It'll say free download. Click that. Literally 2 clicks, and you have like all my favorite edits I've ever made. I'm also throwing in a bonus.
I know what I'm doing next Friday.
I'm throwing in a bonus 2 edits that I've actually never played before. Ooh. So I'm throwing in like 2 in there that are kind of like, hey, see if these work. Awesome. You know.
Too experimental for me. No.
Yeah, too much for me. And that's coming from the guy who plays, you know,
play everything.
Sure.
Nostalgic sing-along with
Axel F.
Melodic dubstep. That was a funny moment.
Dude, that was the best.
Oh, man.
I had that Crazy Frog sound come on, and like Cade and I look at each other from like across White Buffalo and like make eye contact, and I was like,
oh man,
this is it. This is it.
We got to get the wheels turning on a DJ Butler, DJ Dopio set too.
Oh my god, definitely.
I don't know if Gainesville can handle it.
Music
honestly,
just only the most
pies throwing out into the dance.
Welcome to Clown College, guys.
Welcome to Clown School.
We'll get Steve-O to come out.
Oh my gosh. Hey man, well, You've been an awesome guest. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Like I
Thank you
said,
guys for
very
having me.
educational and everything, man. All these new DJs out here.
Shout out GNV Entertainment.
Yeah, if you got, appreciate that, brother. Appreciate it. If you got anyone to emulate, like I said, too, this guy, so young and working so hard, grinding out there, networking.
Thank you.
And making
Thank
a name
you.
for yourself, man. So cheers to you, DJ Butler, Cade, Siebecker.
I'm out of yerba, but
Hey,
Yeah, empty
we'll
cans.
still cheers it up, right?
I spilled mine all over my phone.
Appreciate you guys. And we'll see you not next week on the pregame, actually, because we're going to take a week off so we can up our game a little bit and also come out with some exciting new stuff, too.
you got to have me back for that one. I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be good. Lots of cool stuff going on. So stay tuned, y'all, for the pregame. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Thanks again, Cade, DJ Butler, man.